If you're somebody that's looking to get into making YouTube videos or don't know where to begin, this is an excellent video to kind of help you get up and running a little bit, just to give you a high level view of some of the things you'll need to create YouTube videos. So anyways, I'm just gonna jump into it. So from my personal experience, when you start creating YouTube videos, one of the recommendations I always suggest is A, work with what you got, and B, don't get so bogged down with the technology of everything. Especially in this industry when there's a lot of creators out there talking about fancy cameras, talking about fancy microphones, it's really easy to get bogged down. And there is a steep learning curve with some of this stuff. So my recommendation is when you're starting out, work with something simple, work with what you got. Because if you're bogged down and trying to get past that learning curve of all the tech out there, you're gonna find yourself struggling and you're gonna suffer from burnout, which is gonna discourage you from making content. No matter how you film, it's important to remember, as long as they can see you clearly, as long as they can hear you clearly, and you get the point across, you're doing a good job. So if you're finding what I'm talking about useful, and if you are getting into production of any kind, whether it's video, audio, YouTube, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I'm a big fan of releasing how-to videos, and so if what I'm talking about is useful to you, I release these once a week. So yeah, like and subscribe. Okay, so one of the things that is helping me create more videos is I have a dedicated space for YouTube. So this is where I do all my production work, whether I'm doing audio, YouTube videos, editing video. I have a space where I can come down, I can work. But if you're starting out, you don't have to do that. I would say find yourself like a bedroom or a space that you feel comfortable in. A space that limits you from distractions I find is very important. For example, I'm shooting this video at 4 in the morning because I have children, and this is a time where I can do this uninterrupted, which is in theory really nice. But it's not perfect. So there's a couple recommendations I would suggest when you're starting to work out in your space. The first thing is declutter it. Having a messy space can be very distracting, and I'm guilty of this sometimes. I just kind of run and gun and I forget to look at what my space is like. You wanna make sure it's clean and that it's easy to focus on you. If you live in a busy environment, like a busy street, having a space that kind of isolates you a little bit from the outside noise would be really good too, because depending on your microphone setup, outside noise can also become very distracting. So just make sure that you have a space that when you're talking, that it's clear that we can hear what you're saying. So now that we've talked about the space, let's talk about lighting. So for my setup, it's pretty simple. I have a key light, which is just one main light that's shining on my face that's diffused. And then I have some practical lighting, which is just lighting that is set up in the scene. So just to make it more interesting, to create depth, I have that set up. But for the most part, my lighting setup now is 1 to 2 lights maybe. I don't even have a backlight anymore. Now, again, lighting is something that you can spend a lot of money on, but you don't have to. If you're starting out, filming in front of a window is more than enough, and actually a lot of times I think looks really awesome. Find a window that you like, set it up so the light's shining at it like a 45-degree angle on your face, and you'll be surprised how far that will go in style and look. Now, if you want to get a little bit more advanced with your lighting and get a setup kind of like how I have it here, just go on Amazon and look at like the newer setup, or you can get a 3-point lighting kit for probably around $50 to $100 depending on what you want. And even though it's not the stuff that like Peter McKinnon will use, it'll make a huge difference in your production. So I'll put some links below of some lighting kits that you can check out and see for yourself. And there's a ton of videos online on how to set up a 3-point lighting system, like how to set up your key light, how to set up like your backlight, your fill light, all that stuff. So if you like that kind of thing and you want to learn a little bit more about it, creating a YouTube video is actually a really great way of learning how to create cinematic style video. Okay, let's talk about cameras. Okay, this is a rabbit hole that you can go down, and I have gone down this rabbit hole too. If you're like me, I'm a sucker for technology. I love geeking out about cameras and stuff like that. So I like to shoot with a mirrorless camera. I have an A7 III that I picked up, and I've used that now for a couple years. If you're starting out though, I don't recommend getting a camera right away. Start shooting with your phone. And the reason why I say this is at first it's not about the high quality that you want to be releasing, it's about the consistency of what you're releasing. And this is what gets me and a lot of other people. If you have to spend time setting up a camera and checking your levels and just going through the steps of what you need to do with a mirrorless or a DSLR camera, it's easy to get discouraged because you might find shooting your first few videos is easy, but by your 4th or 5th, it becomes a task and it gets discouraging. So my recommendation is start with your phone because you can get set up and running pretty quick. You just kind of point and shoot, and the footage you get from your cell phone is amazing. So whatever you decide to shoot on, whether you're gonna shoot with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or if you're gonna use your phone, the one investment I can't recommend enough is a tripod. This is gonna free up your hands and it's gonna give you some very stable footage. If you're shooting with shaky footage, it can be distracting. Okay, so you got some amazing footage. Let's talk about the sound. If your audio isn't good, that's a big turnoff. And the reason why is we're really susceptible to bad audio. Because if it doesn't sound good, right away we hear cheap and we're gonna swipe. Here's a couple things that you can use to get good audio. You can buy an external microphone for fairly cheap that you can plug into your camera or your iPhone that will improve your audio like 100 times fold. Normally when I shoot, I use an old Rode mic that I bought like 6 years ago. I think I paid like 50 bucks for it, but it really made a huge difference. Another option is using a lapel mic, and that's a microphone that you can clip onto your shirt. If you're using a lapel mic, just make sure when you clip it on that you're getting good audio and that it's not scratching against the shirt. Sometimes I'll use an external recorder and microphone if I'm deciding to use like my shotgun Rode mic. I have a longer shotgun mic that I like to use. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So this is the Rode NTG1. It's a shotgun microphone. It's very directional, so it cancels a lot on the sides, but picks up really well in the front. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it on like a mic stand just above my head and record this way, and then this goes into an external recorder that I feed into my camera or I sync it in post-production. I've taken things one step further and I actually have sound treatment in my room. I have a whole video series on how I built my diffuser and my absorber panels that I use here, and I have about 20 panels and bass traps that I built around this, and that's because I do a lot of audio production and mixing, but it also makes a huge difference in the quality of sound I pick up from my microphone. So now that you have your footage shot and you're ready to edit, what do you use? There's a lot of really good software out there. So a lot of people will use Premiere Pro. That's a really fancy one. I use DaVinci Resolve because it's free. Now there's a bit of a learning curve with DaVinci Resolve. I've been using it for about 6 or 7 years now. Now if you're a Mac user, you might want to look at Final Cut Pro. That's another big standard software. But however, you don't need all this software. You can do a really good job with iMovie. My wife uses iMovie for her videos and she makes really good videos. If you're in a small space, another good tip that I find that's very useful is shoot into the corner. So instead of having it back on like this, turn your camera and so set yourself up so the corner's behind you, and this will make your room look bigger. Because sometimes if you're in a tight space and looks small, it feels kind of claustrophobic for the viewer. So if you can give yourself some depth, it just makes it more interesting and people will tend to watch a little bit longer because you are stimulating that part of the brain that makes it go woo. I've been doing this now for a while and I feel I'm just starting to get into my stride when it comes to the quality of my video. And if you're sharing important information, at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're here to learn, we're here to have fun. If you're hitting those points, people are gonna love what you're doing. Yeah, so thank you very much. And if you are starting a YouTube channel, hit me up in the comments. I wanna check it out. And thank you, and best of luck. Take care, everyone.